It's time for the Roblox event you've all been waiting for. Is it the Roblox egg hunt? No, it's Gucci. So why does this exist? Some will say it has little to do with the original vision of Roblox, but I think this might actually have been coming for a long time. In fact, I've uncovered this top secret footage which reveals Roblox were planning this as far back as 2008.
Shirts, pants, shirts, pants.
Thank you, John Shedletsky. Anyhow, Roblox no doubt got a pretty nice check out of these events, and I can't say I entirely blame them. I mean, if Gucci wanted to sponsor me, who am I to say no? Maybe this could be the start of a bold new direction for the channel. Introducing Gucci Code, with handbag reviews every week. Okay, now I know the Roblox sponsored events are kind of a meme at this point, but I was actually kind of genuinely curious what they do with this one. Gucci is supposed to be all about good design, so at least in theory, if they're putting their name to something, it shouldn't be completely terrible, right? Let's take a look. It's called the Gucci Garden, and like a lot of these sponsored events, we can see it's been pretty heavily dislike bombed, with a glorious 120,000 dislikes. Oh dear. Now the description says,
Step into the world of luxury fashion and experience a one-of-a-kind interactive virtual exhibit inspired by Gucci Garden archives and immersive multimedia experiences for and service Alexander Michel's creative vision.
What? Okay, sure, that sounds right up my street, count me in. Note the fact that they use the word experience here. I think we're definitely going to see Roblox trying to normalise it from now on after that whole Apple experience from the games situation. Now I know a lot of people got upset over this, but honestly I don't really see it as a big deal. There are still games on Roblox and you can still call yourself a game developer. Some of the grand metaverse talk might be a bit fanciful, but honestly there's always been things on the platform like building showcases that never really fit that game category to begin with. But we're diverging, so let's check out this experience. So it loads in and then, what was that? I don't really understand why they had this random image of a building at the loading screen. It kind of threw me off, but apparently this is the Gucci Garden itself in Florence. So apparently the idea is this is a virtual recreation of a real life exhibit they have going on at the moment. So it will be interesting to see how well it actually squares up to the real life one. I've got to say that it does seem kind of awkward how they just threw in this image of the building before the loading screen. They couldn't really be bothered to integrate it into any design or actual loading screen, they just inserted it right at the beginning, like bam, building, bam, text, game. So and then we spawn in at the lobby and my first impressions weren't that great, to be honest. The room just feels really square and bland and without any real character. Now I can see they put a lot of work into the lighting and I do really like what they've done with the reflections on the floor and ceiling, and the way the light travels across it does look really cool. It just seems a shame that the design of the room itself doesn't really do it justice. This room is actually based on one from the exhibit called The Collector's Room. And when you look at some of those pictures, you can see what they were going for, but I don't think they've quite done it justice, and I think they could have done a lot more with it. Although creating those tight corridors might not have been well suited for gameplay, I feel like the actual room they've made is just too big, and having just a cabinet on either side really just feels quite rushed. And this is probably demonstrated when you take a look at some of these corners. The wall texture doesn't even line up, and if you look closely, there's even some Z fighting where two parts are overlapping. Also, while we're in the lobby, what's up with this walk animation? It looks like I'm doing some kind of weird speed walk that somehow manages to feel both fast and slow at the same time. Maybe it looks better on different character shapes, but it doesn't make a natural gnome movement. So you may be wondering what's actually in all of these display cabinets. These are all the exclusive items for the event you can buy with Robux. It says in the description these were all created by Rook Vanguard, and I'm pretty impressed with all their UGC creations here. It looks like some really good work has gone into it, so if you're into that kind of thing, then I guess you might want to pick it up while it's available. But in Gnomeland, we have our own style that doesn't need any accessories to look cool. So moving out of this room, and we head off into the light, through the archways, and the game transports us off into one of 5 rooms, along with an entirely new body, which kind of looks like a shop mannequin. I don't know if that's the idea, but it actually made me think of that time the shop mannequins came to life in an episode of Doctor Who. Is this secretly a horror game? Probably not. Anyhow, with all these rooms, you'll find these little circle icons and things which allow you to interact, and I do like how intuitive rather than using some kind of convoluted menu system. And the pool area in general isn't too bad. Though if I'm going to be picky, there are a couple of things off, like the size of these steps don't really seem to match the scale of the character. Then we've also got these rather unfortunate decal placements on the disco balls, but in general there's really not a lot going on here and it's not very exciting to look at either. So once you're done, you just head down any of the exits and then you're taken off into the next area. Probably the worst room of the entire exhibition has to be this brightly coloured neon hallway maze type thing. It has a truck at the beginning and then that's just it. There's literally nothing else to see here. Were they a bit pushed for time or something? I can just imagining the meeting. Okay team, we have 30 minutes left until the deadline. How is the 5th room coming along? We're supposed to have a 5th room, sir? Damn it, Jenkins, you had one job. Sir, we don't have time to create another area. I guess we could make some hallways or something? Plus there is this leftover vehicle we had. That's perfect. Get right on it. While I was walking down this corridor, I couldn't help but notice something though. What's going on with this walk animation? I mean, sure, it's quite a nice smooth animation, but this is not how people walk. Notice how the arms just stay in front of them the whole time. It looks so robotic. Is this what Roblox think people walk like? I don't know, but I'm starting to think maybe that theory about it being a Doctor Who horror game isn't so crazy after all. Next we have this toilet block, which as the advert suggests, everyone seems to be really desperate to go. I guess sometimes you just can't hold it in any longer. Thankfully, there does seem to be plenty of cubicles for them all, even if there aren't any toilets. Oh, and one of them you do have to share with a floating ghost, so there is that. Maybe they'll need to find a different toilet block. I hope they can hold it in. In all seriousness though, I think this is actually a pretty decent room. Obviously it's nothing that amazing, but when you compare it to the shots from the advert and the real life exhibit, it actually matches up pretty well, and they've got this cool mirror as well, so all in all, I think this is pretty good. Heading back through the portal, and this time we come out into this open air world, which has the theme of nature, dinosaurs, robots, and aliens? Okay, Gucci, you do you. This is probably the most interesting area, and I like the way the trees extend above and around the walls of the room. This is one way in which Roblox has actually been able to take the original real-life concept, which looks like a pretty boring room, and then transform it into something a bit more magical in its virtual form in the metaverse. Some of these plant meshes are pretty good, although I'm not a big fan of some of these plants which look to be just four-sided decals. In one corner there's this 3D portrait thing, which again the developer has used decals for. To me this kind of seems a strange choice, when the original just seems to be models. But then, on the other hand, it does create this slightly surrealist effect of being both 2- and 3-dimensional. So, in a strange way, it kind of works, if that what they were going for. I don't know about this. And the best bit is there's also the sofa you can sit on, in case you get tired of this amazing experience, I guess. Finally though, we find ourselves in this subway carriage. This is probably one of the better areas, and it all looks to be built with some good attention to detail. Not to mention it actually matches the scale of our characters. They've even animated these lights outside the window to make it seem like we're moving, and I really appreciate the little bits of detail with CCTV cameras and grab rails above our head, and they've even added a vent along the ceiling if you can make that out. It's possible the builder was just much more comfortable making this kind of construction, but I think it's much more likely that these areas have all been built by different people. So whoever did this one, good job. You're my favourite. So there we go. Once you've completed your tour, you get teleported back to the main lobby with a statue of yourself for some reason. Honestly, I don't really know what to make of this whole thing. I know it's just a sponsored event, but I can't help but think it could have actually been a lot better. To be honest, I just don't really get why Gucci want to put their name to this kind of thing. I will say though, if by any chance the developers are watching this, then I don't mean to be too down on you guys here. I'm sure you probably put a lot of work in, and I do actually think you did a good job of implementing the immersive idea. And the smooth transitions between the different worlds is kind of a cool concept. If we're going to embrace the whole idea of experiences on Roblox going forward, then it would be interesting to see people develop more things like this, with visual art could definitely be an interesting development. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this new type of content, then let me know in the comments, and if you're new here, then why not consider a cheeky subscription? I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye!